Hello and welcome to WOW, the positive podcast. Listening to kids and showing them that there's a lot more to our world than bad news. I'm Alastair, and as a journalist, I spent many years bringing people really bad news from all over the world. Now I realise that if we're really going to fix our problems, we need a bit of inspiration too. And so I get together regularly with my podcast buddy Clarisse to talk about what people are already doing to come up with solutions for our world. In every episode, we look at big issues from the point of view of problem solvers. That way we reckon you'll get a much more realistic and balanced view of what's going on in the world than you might if you just hear the news headlines. Today, we've got a story that we think is pretty, well, cool.
Hi, Alastair. I've got good news for you.
Hey, Clarisse. Good news, you say? Great. Tell me about it.
Well, I took up your challenge in the last episode, and I think I've found a solution for cleaning air in our cities.
Fantastic. So, what is it? Is it totally new, or does it exist already?
Vertical forests. And yes, they do exist, for example, in Italy. Do you know them?
Ah, yes. Do you know, I've seen one, in fact, in Milan. They have apartment buildings and offices where there are plants, even trees growing all the way up along the walls and around the balconies. In Milan, they have apples and cherries and even olive trees. The building I've seen looks like it's wearing a big green overcoat that seems, well, like a forest.
Exactly. And so they call them vertical forests. The building you saw in Milan is covered in hundreds of trees and 20,000 plants of all kinds.
Interesting. Vertical forests, vertical gardens, forest towers, walls of plants. These are all ways of talking about one important idea. That trees should have a big place in our cities, right? Not just to look nice here and there, but really to surround us and live with us. So much is possible by placing gardens on roofs or plants on balconies, covering walls with shrubs. We can really start creating jungles in our towns. And the architect Stefano Boeri, the man who's behind Milan's vertical forest, he says that trees should be our allies, our partners in the city of the future.
Wow, the city of the future. But, it also makes me think of the past. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon?
Ah, yes, one of the wonders of the ancient world, thousands of years ago, Clarisse. We're not entirely sure what the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were like, but yeah, maybe the idea has helped inspire our modern architects like Stefano. A dream made real? Who knows?
Well, it certainly inspires me. I love the idea that you can reach out of your window 27 floors up and pick up your own fruit. So cool.
Absolutely, Clarisse. And these vertical forests aren't just there to look nice. They help solve some really big problems, including air pollution and global warming.
That's right. And you know how they do that?
Well, some of it's because of that superpower that trees have, remember? To soak up the dust and pollution from the air, and also to pump out fresh oxygen as they grow.
True. The superpower of trees. In fact, these vertical forests are like giant air purifiers.
Exactly. And they also provide natural air conditioning. In the summer, obviously, they provide shade to keep people cool inside. And in winter, well, obviously, the leaves drop off and they let through the sunshine to warm us up when it gets cold.
Ah, that's smart.
And it's not all. Cities are pretty noisy places, right? Well, trees also protect us from the rumble of traffic in the street. So, thanks trees, we can be less stressed.
We can relax among the trees in town. I like the idea.
Yes, Clarisse. And there's more. Planting more trees attracts more birds and wildlife. And there's a really important reason why the United Nations, the organization that brings together all the world's countries, why the United Nations is pushing to build what it calls the Great Green Wall for cities.
Like the Great Wall of China?
Well, I guess you're right. That is the first Great Wall that we think of. This Great Green Wall, in fact, it's a huge project to plant millions of trees over the next 10 years, enough to cover 1 million football pitches inside cities, especially in hot parts of the world. Just think.
Wow. And the point is?
To keep cool, Clarisse. Of course, trees provide shade, but the Great Green Wall is also about using another superpower of trees. So here we are in cities, cars and machines are giving off heat all the time. And as our cities grow and more of that heat gets trapped in the concrete, that's a big problem. But trees, they soak up some of that heat. The United Nations reckons that they can lower the average temperature in a city by up to 2 degrees Celsius.
Ah, excellent. Though I still like most the idea that we get to hear the birds more outside our windows.
The future, no? Once we have electric cars and vertical forests everywhere. Singapore, the tropical island city in Asia, they've taken a lead. They have 1 tree for every 2 people living there. In Colombia, in South America, they've got one of the biggest walls of plants in the world. And other towns like Sydney, Madrid, Paris, Brussels, or London, they've all got buildings that are heavily covered in greenery. Stefano, who built that vertical forest in Italy, in Milan, he's got plans to construct projects in other countries too. Amazingly, there's one in China that he's got on the books that would mean building 200 buildings and 1 million trees. What can you say to that, Clarisse?
Wow, just wow. I love the idea that it's practical, good for people and the planet, and I think simply poetic.
Ah, yes. And that makes me think of another Italian, in fact, the famous painter Leonardo da Vinci from centuries ago. Do you know what he said? Go take your lessons from nature. That's what Leonardo said. That's where our future is. Nature, lessons, future.
Thank you, Alastair. Now I'm inspired even more. I don't have a vertical forest here, but I think it's time for me to go and tend to the flowers on my balcony.
Happy gardening, Clarisse. Well, there you are. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about vertical forests and all the ways that trees can help make our cities better places to live. If you're listening on Saturday, March the 21st, well, happy Forest Day, everyone. Yes, it is indeed the United Nations International Day of the Forest. That's what inspired us at WOW to think about trees, especially now. People like Stefano, the Italian architect of Milan's vertical forest, they talk about cities having a green future. Does the future of the city have a colour for you? What do you think it would look like? Well, you tell us. That's your challenge from this podcast. Send us your drawing, a photo, a poem, or any other ideas you like to Clarisse and Alastair at, I'm going to give you an email address here, info, I-N-F-O, at wow, W-O-W, dash news.eu. That's info at wow-news.eu. Or you can send it directly to our Instagram account. It's called MyWowTime. You'll find the links to all of those on our website, which is on the homepage of this podcast. Now, for everyone listening at home, and maybe like us, you're not able to go outside at the moment, we hope that the thought of cities full of trees, of birds, of wildlife, of shade, of cool, has made you smile. Thank you for spending time with WOW. We really appreciate it. We'll be back soon with more good news. Do pass it on. Please tell your friends. Meantime, stay safe and stay positive.